This episode of Girl on the Internet podcast includes conversations regarding mental health, death and dying, and other potentially sensitive topics. If you or someone you love is struggling mentally, just know you are not alone. As a reminder, 988 is a national mental health and crisis lifeline available through call or text. Listener discretion is advised.
What do I know? I'm just a girl on the internet. What are you staring at? Is something on my face? Like hair or something? Oh, you just haven't seen me in 5 months. Oh, that makes perfect sense. Hi. How is everybody out there doing right now? Trust me, this feels just as weird for you as it does for me. I have not sat in front of a camera in so long and just sat and recorded myself and talked and just been casual in a hot minute. So bear with me if this episode is a little bit different, a little awkward. It's like we're on a first date kind of. Or it's like I ghosted you 5 months ago and I'm like, hey, want to get back together for a coffee? So forgive me. I cannot express enough how excited I am to be back, how pumped I am to be sitting here to be recording an episode of the podcast that I have not done in so long. We will certainly get to talking, and by we, I mean me. There is a lot to go over, a lot to discuss. We're catching up. Thank you for being here. Thank you for waiting for me. And let's get into the episode. There is no structure today. There is no, I don't have anything written down. I'm just here today. We're just picking up where things left off about 5 months ago and filling you guys in. And we're just going to have a chatty chat. So grab a snack, grab a bev, put your phone on, do not disturb. It's about to get serious. Don't worry, I didn't forget beverage of the pod is water in a stainless steel cup. All my other water bottles were dirty. First of all, elephant in the room. For those of you that are watching the video form of this podcast, and if you're not, might I suggest going over to my YouTube channel, Kayla Nelson. Have a whole separate playlist for Girl on the Internet podcast episodes. Why don't you pop on over there? The visual aesthetic just got 10 times better, and I'm not just talking about me. I'm kidding. My setup. Holy crap, you guys. If you are watching the video version, first of all, love you. Second of all, we got a huge, I keep saying we, I need to chill. I work for myself. The podcast corner of my room, I almost said studio. I need to go back for another 5 months. The podcasting area that I have in my room, I'm going to call it my podcast studio, had a huge makeover. I've got a neon sign that says Girl on the Internet. We've got some wallpaper. We've got some curtains. We've got a plant. It's a new chair that I'm so dang excited about. It swivels, although maybe not right now because I'm kind of like cornered here. But the vibes are immaculate and I am so pumped to be back doing this. You guys know I loved my previous setup and I was really excited to even begin doing video forms of the podcast. But I just wanted a little bit of something new, a little bit more pizzazz, if you will. So there's been a makeover. So make sure you check that out. I love this setup so much. And I apologize if you see me checking out the viewfinder because I'm just like, it looks so good. It looks like I'm literally in like a studio somewhere rich, but I'm really just in my apartment that I overpaid too much rent for. So at least I'm getting my money's worth, I guess. Turning it into like a workspace as well. I don't know. So let's talk about it. Where the hell have I been? Where, and why did I take so much time away from the internet? I am aware that I am somebody who overshares my life online. I have multiple different social media platforms. I usually link them in the descriptions of these episodes. I know some of you who follow my content only follow me in specific areas. Maybe you follow me on Instagram, but nowhere else. Or maybe you follow the podcast and not my YouTube channel. And some of you, love you, follow me on like all the platforms and I really appreciate that. So some of you know, some of you don't. If you've heard it once, I'm sorry, but I think it comes with the territory of posting your life online and people keeping up with you and trying to see what's up and know what's up and, keep tabs on you and everything. The reason that I've been gone and kind of fell off the face of the earth for a little while is because back in April, my mom passed away. And even though there's been some time to process that and to get through what that really means, saying it out loud never gets easier. Like, that's why I feel like I'm stumbling on my words a little bit, because every time I have to say that, it just doesn't feel real in any way, shape, or form. I don't know if it ever will. But yeah, it just is a weird thing to say. I'm obviously not going to share every little detail about it, just to respect the dignity of my mom and just for personal reasons. I think that's weird to overshare that much. But many of you know my mom did have cancer, and it was not something I've really talked about. I just don't think people's, like medical conditions really define who they are as a person. And I think, life is so much bigger than just like a problem that somebody is having, even if it is something as cruel as cancer. She had been struggling with it for a while. Things basically took a turn for the worse at the end of March of this year. She was given a new diagnosis, and at the time, there was a lot of hope. There was a lot of expectation. There was a plan. There was a promising looking future. And unfortunately, she just rapidly declined in a very, very short period of time that I don't think anybody could have predicted. And it was incredibly brutal to see that and to live that and to experience that with your own mom. And basically things had just escalated. She was getting sicker and not getting better, and her body just could not handle pretty much anything. So as things were presumably getting worse and not better, and she was just really struggling and losing a lot of her function and strength, and just losing who she was, basically. There was a family decision that we would transition to hospice, and that's what we did, and that was my mom's choice and her decision. I'm grateful in a very weird way that growing up, she mentioned death and dying, not like in a weird morbid way, but she would talk about it once in a while. And I think this is now like a topic I think everyone should talk about. It's not comfortable, but it's inevitable. And I knew my mom's wishes. She kind of always, dropped the ball throughout life that if anything were to happen, or God forbid, a terrible car accident or something, life altering. Like, my mom was always the person that was like, do not, hook me up to 20 different machines and keep me alive. Like, just let me go. And it doesn't make the decision-making process any easier when you actually have to sign those papers and make those decisions. But it gives you a bit of peace of mind to know exactly what her wishes were. And she was able to communicate those wishes. I know some people are not in a cognitive space or physical ability to speak for themselves. So I'm very grateful that she had the opportunity to weigh in on her options. Again, doesn't make that any easier by any means. But it was the best decision for her and for my family. Aside from her not dying, being alive would have been the best option. But the transition was beautiful. Her time at the hospice facility was short, but it was beautiful. I know a lot of cultures and different countries and things like don't necessarily do hospice, or it doesn't exist for some people, but I could not recommend it enough. If you have a family member or a friend or anyone that is sick and not well, and you want to just focus on the quality of the end of the life, and you want to focus on not suffering, not being in pain, not being miserable, not being in a loud hospital with lines and tubes and beeping and interruptions. It's just the experience that we all had. Brutal, heartbreaking, gut-wrenching, devastating, all of those things. Simultaneously, it was beautiful, because to know that she was at peace is all that I cared about. especially, I don't want to talk too much about it because it sucks. But I did want to share it with you guys because I like being vulnerable online, and I like to share things like real topics and real conversations and not wear a front or not have like a front. But to see her decline so rapidly and just to get sicker and not get better was really tough, as anyone could imagine. So to see her comfortable and not in pain and just resting and being with her family and her friends, it's all we could have asked for. And for that, it was the right decision. Again, I wish it didn't have to be that way, but to watch her slowly just get sicker and weaker over time, to then just be able to rest and be comfortable and not have to fight anything anymore was worth it, because it's just, suffering is not, it's not what anyone would want to do. So to have that option is something that I'm grateful for. Overall, it was an experience that I never ever thought I would have to go through. I don't think anyone ever prepares themselves for that. But again, death is inevitable, unfortunately. And I don't think it's ever an easy thing to talk about, whether it's an unexpected death or, someone is getting sick over a long period of time or whatever the case is. It doesn't just make it easier. It doesn't just get better. It doesn't just make the decision like quick, easy, and painless. Like, it's going to suck regardless of the situation. And that's just a fact. It just doesn't, I even in my profession, working with patients in healthcare, like seeing a patient pass away or having worked with a patient and then like weeks later I realized they died or something, it just like, it sucks no matter what, because it's just like, death sucks. Like, I don't know how else to word that in like a nice way, but it's not something that you ever prepare for. It's not that you think you're invincible or that, those kinds of things won't happen to you, because life doesn't discriminate in any way. Like, anyone can have something good or bad happen to them at any point ever. And it's weird because when it happens to you or happens to your immediate family or whoever, it's like it just feels so unexpected. You're like, why me? Why us? Why now? Like, there's just so many thoughts that run through your head during a time like that. And yeah, I was not well at the time, if you can imagine. And there's just something to be said about losing your mom. It's like, holy shit, does that hurt? There's so much about it that sucks. I don't want to like totally depress you, but I mean, the biggest for me is it's the woman that gave me life. I mean, my dad was part of that, but she birthed me. Like I lived inside of her at one point to grow and to become who I am. And she gave me life. And, to see the woman that gave you life and to see the person that you spent your entire life with, all 28 years of it, to see them go, it's fucking brutal, man. There is no other way to put it. It just is brutal. I think especially as a child, to see your parent go, it's like, holy shit. And, to see my mom in the hospital bed in hospice, just not the same person that she always was. To have lost, her functionality and the color in her face and her enthusiasm for life and her just her pep and everything that she was, to just see that not be there is just so terrible. I mean, my mom, I'm grateful she had her humor and her silly little jokes till the very end. But again, that doesn't make it any less terrible. The other thing, too, is that it happened so incredibly fast that I don't think any of us were, again, prepared for, or, the best way I can describe those weeks and months is just that it was whiplash, because, I go from, okay, we have a plan and we have this and it's going to be okay and it's going to be fine and this is going to work out and this, and we've got the doctors involved and it's okay and da-da-da-da, and then it's like, oh, and now we have to decide what we're going to do after she passes away. Do you go to a cemetery? Do you get a headstone? Do you cremate? Like, all in a time span of less than a month. My brain, to this day, it hasn't even been 6 months. I still can't even process it fully. And I really don't mind talking about it. I mean, of course it's going to make me emotional and it's going to be just shitty, but like, it's not going to ever stop being shitty. It's like in 30 years, if I'm lucky to be alive, like, it'll still hurt. You know what I mean? So I don't mind talking about it. I don't mind when people ask questions. And I think too, like, the more people know that they're comfortable hearing, it's like, maybe as a society, or maybe as like we reflect, people will almost make better choices moving forward. Like, again, if their parents got sick or their, child, or whatever the scenario is, it's like, if you know someone who's been through something like that, it might change your perspective on how you not only view life, but how you would want to deal with death and dying, or even your own personal wishes if that were to happen to you. Because again, life's not guaranteed. We have no idea. I've definitely thought about my life choices and, God forbid what my choices are, what I would want to do if something happened to me, like what I would want for myself in terms of life prolonging measures, or, quality, quantity of life kind of thing. So in that sense, it's not a big deal to talk about. Obviously, I'm not here to get clicks and likes to talk about her passing. It's just, that's not what that is. It just, it was something that I did want to touch on. My mom was a huge part of my life, and she still is a huge part of my life. It's just different now. Also, side note, the reason I really love this new podcast setup and this little swivel couch love seat situation is because I can fidget and move and reposition and crisscross applesauce my legs, or straighten them out, or curl them up in a ball, and it's the best. So very grateful for this new chair. It's also ow, that's my elbow. The chair is rather large and deep, so I can really sit comfortably in it, and it's the best. So I'm gonna sit like this for a minute. Anyways, I don't even know. Again, this episode's not really gonna have much structure or fluency. We're just raw dogging the episode out here. What else? Yeah, I don't even know what I'm gonna title this episode yet. I just know that I wanted to have my first episode back kind of addressing, where I've been and what's been up, but also just to give some insight and some things that I've learned in this time after my mom has passed. Because again, my podcast, typically I include some kind of self-help, life advice, life conversations. It doesn't always have to be, the most earth-shattering information or anything like that. And, I'm literally just a girl on the internet pointing at my sign over here. So with that, I've learned a lot of life lessons since her passing. Obviously, there's been a newfound appreciation for life and just the fragility of life and what that really looks like and what that really means, and how to live your life, and how to, not care about these stupid small things that just do not matter. It's been very interesting to have a new perspective because of that. It sucks that I had to lose my mom in the process of that, but to come out on the other side and be like, what can I learn from this, or what, what value has come from something like this, because it's quite literally the worst situation possible. I mean, this is terrible, but anything I can take from it, because I can either sit in this sad, depressed hole and grieve for the rest of my life and just never make anything of it, or I can choose to live my life, and I can choose to find happiness and joy and give the life that she gave me a meaning and give it purpose and make it worth something, because that was the whole reason that she had kids, right? You have kids to grow up and have a legacy and have a good life. It's like, why? There's no point in sitting here in this grief forever. I can't be sad forever. I'll kill myself. Like, I can't be here and be sad forever, because that would just be miserable. Like, nobody wants that. And I don't want that for myself, and my mom wouldn't want that for me. So in order to get out of this deep, deep hole that is grief, it's a lot of time and work. And it's not something I ever understood, because I've been so grateful to not ever have to deal with it to a level like this. I just, if you follow me on my YouTube channel, which if you don't, you should, Kayla Nelson is my name. I just hit 100,000 subscribers. Super pumped. My life has been so many highs and lows this year. I'm like, my mom died and then I hit 100, a lot of highs and lows this year. Very, very interesting, but I'm very grateful for the 100K and the plaque. Like, that was really cool. But I did a little return to YouTube video tribute to my mom. I find a lot of creative freedom and passion and therapy in creating and art and photography. As you guys know, I do podcasting and YouTube and photography and all the things. That's just like where I feel like I find my peace and my creativity. So I did a little bit of a tribute video in honor of her, and the voiceover in the video is just something that I wrote while I was at the beach. I did a solo beach trip after her celebration of life, and I just wrote things that came to my mind and how I felt. And the biggest metaphor I used was how grief feels like waves, like ocean waves. Sometimes they're calm and they just kind of creep in. You don't even realize that they're there. And then sometimes they just crash and they're loud and they're devastating and they're destructive and they're annoying and they're always there. And, grief is always going to be there. Just like waves will always wash up on the beach. They just are going to come in different ways. They're going to come in different strengths and different capacities, but they'll always come. The waves are always going to be pushing on the shore, because that's just how Earth works, how science works. And I feel like to me, that's how I view grief, or that's how I've viewed my grief. I've acknowledged that it's not going to go away, and I don't want it to. I don't want my grief to go away. I don't want to forget about the time that I had with my mom. And it's not meant to just be brushed under a rug and never looked at again. I'm acknowledging my grief. I know it's there. I'm very well aware that it's there, but I've learned to appreciate it like ocean waves, because it's always going to be there. So I can either choose to find beauty in it. I can choose to take moments to cry, to really wallow in that, to feel all of those emotions. Because again, it's not like you just say, oh, you have grief, move on, suck it up, move on. No, I think you should sit in that grief and you should process those emotions, because grief also comes with 8 billion different emotions. You're not just sad, you're angry, you're devastated, you're pissed off, you're happy. There's just so much happening within the grief itself. It's important to explore and to feel each one of those emotions in order to properly grieve, in order to properly, work through it, or work alongside of it rather, because again, you don't really get over grief or through it. You just have to you are just parallel to it forever. And sometimes it intersects in your life again and it's really hard, and other times it's not. At least that's what I'm learning. And this is only me saying this less than 6 months after my mom passed. Obviously April was devastating, but April, May, June, I just was in quite possibly the lowest place possible. Not only because of my mom, but there were other personal things going on in my life that I may or may not share eventually. But I was so not well. And my mom passing away was just truly the straw that broke the camel's back. Rightfully so. Pure pure rock bottom. Like I didn't even think I was gonna make it through another day. Everything was hard. Everything was terrible. Everything was awful. Couldn't sleep, couldn't wake up, couldn't function, couldn't eat, could barely get myself to shower. Everything became just a chore. Everything became just so daunting to do. And what's the point? And why do I do this? And who cares? And what am I, well, my mom's not here. So what does it matter? Like, why do I need to better myself? It was a very, very ugly point. And I feel like I could do a whole other podcast episode talking about that post grief time period. But it was really ugly. It was really terrible. And it was also incredibly scary because I know the kind of person I am. I'm a very happy-go-lucky person. I like to find, things in life that make me happy. I'm optimistic, but I'm also a realist. I'm not going to bullshit you and be like, everything's fine all the time. Just smile and your depression will go away. I'm a realist, but I also try to find optimism and positivity in things because I feel like that's what life is about. There's a lot of shit in life that's not fun and not great, but find the things that bring you joy. I was really scared because I was like, is this who I am now? Is this who Kayla is now and forever? I have this new grief that I'm sitting with, that I'm stuck with. It's not going anywhere. I'm not going. Is this just who I am now? Am I just this miserable, sad, angry person now because of all of this? Will I never find happiness ever again? Because it does feel like that. Unless you've experienced grief to that capacity, you wouldn't get it. But it legitimately felt like I was just trapped. It just felt like I had walked, I don't know, into a padded room with super glue, and I was just stuck there. Nowhere else to go. And it is insane how your mind can play these tricks on you and you really do think, this is just my new normal. This is just my life now. No motivation to work out, to eat well, to see my friends, to sleep appropriately. I'm just going to have nightmares constantly. This is it. This is it for me. And it's such a toxic, terrible thing to think about because you can really get in your own head about that. If you can imagine, you can really get in that headspace where you're believing every bit of it. And I'm very grateful that I have the friends that I have, the supportive family that I have. You guys, I got so many comments and DMs from strangers online, and I appreciate every single one of them. I might not have replied to, but trust me, I read it and I appreciate it. It reminds you that life's not over just because you lost somebody. It sucks and it stings and it's terrible and there's no denying that. But to recognize that life is not over and that you still have a purpose existing. There's still a reason that I'm here living a life while my mom is not. I haven't found that purpose necessarily. I haven't, it hasn't been rainbows and sunshine, but to acknowledge that I can't stop living my life because of something like this is a big wake-up call. Because again, in that acute phase of grief, you're like, nothing matters. Why do I have to pay my taxes? My mom just died. Who cares about paying my rent? I don't need to go to the grocery store. My mom just died. Nothing matters. My mom just died. That was my mentality. Nothing mattered. I was like, I could care less. And it just is such a devastating place to be because I know deep down that's not who I am, but that is how grief just messes with your head. And it's just so brutal. And to anyone out there who has gone through any kind of grief to any capacity, my heart is with you because it's, when people say grief sucks, holy shit, they weren't kidding. It's and I'm not laughing to be insensitive, but it's an unbelievable roller coaster of how you feel. And it questions you as a human and your brain and just, the what ifs and the whys and the how come. It's such an emotionally there's just so much turmoil and it's just hard to even get a single thought out. So that's also the reason people text you or check in on you. It's I can't even process reading my phone right now. I don't, because the other thing that no one ever tells you about when people in your immediate family or whoever, spouse, children, whoever pass away. It doesn't just stop. It's not just, oh, they passed away. I'm so sorry. Because you know what you have to do after that? You got to call the bank. Got to cancel their credit cards. You got to call the car places. If they have a loan on their car, you got to talk about that. If you are signed on a house mortgage, you got to call about that. You have to call the places that take your loved one and ask for death certificates for proof to different healthcare agency. Like, it just doesn't, you don't get a break. It's you don't even really get time to mourn the loss of the person, because immediately it's like, I'm so sorry. Okay, now will you sign this paper from the bank that says, like, we're gonna write off their credit, and we're gonna, oh, and then this, oh, and then how many death certificates would you, oh, and then also, like, what would you like her ashes to be in? Like, oh, no pressure. I'm so sorry for your loss. And you're just like, this can't be real. Like, how does that exist? How? And then immediately after, people are like, so when's the funeral? So you guys having a celebration of life? Like, what do we, quick statement. I literally just watched my mom pass away. Haven't even thought for a second about what's next. A funeral, a celebration of life, hasn't even crossed my mind. Hasn't even been 24 hours. I mean, that's legit. That's real life. And I know people have good intentions. No one's like, when's the funeral, to be like a menace, but sometimes people just don't fully think about what they're saying before they say it. So in the midst of them trying to grieve and trying to be supportive of you, it's like sometimes inappropriate questions will be asked, and you're just like, what the hell do you mean, when is the funeral? What even time and day is it? Because I don't know. Like, it's all so interesting. And again, it's not something I ever thought I would have to deal with, especially at this age. It's like so brutal to be 28 years old and to be in a position now where I have one parent. And yes, there are worse things in the world. People have it worse. You guys know I don't like do tit for tat like that. I'm not like, woe is me. Like, but from my experience and what I'm dealing with right now, it's like, yeah, that shit sucks. Yeah, I've thought about, if I get married, will I have a wedding? Because my mom won't be there. I thought about, if I had kids, what's the point? Because my mom's not going to be there. So much. There's so much that runs through your mind. And it's easy to do that after something like that happens, because your whole world does just completely do a 180. And you just really are trying to figure out up from down and left from right. And it's easy to spiral, super easy to spiral. So with that, I've been doing so much better, hence why I'm back. I would not be, for 2 seconds, I wouldn't be filming this podcast episode. I wouldn't be posting on my YouTube channel. I wouldn't be talking to you guys if I was not in a place to do so. It's been a while since I've been online. I took every ounce of time that I desperately needed. It wasn't like, I didn't care. I didn't care about going back to work. I'm grateful I have a very supportive team where I work, and I just said, take me off the schedule for this foreseeable future. I'm going to be out. Like, bereavement days didn't exist for me. I was like, 3 days or 2, I'm out. I was gone for 2 months, I didn't care about a paycheck at the time. Money will come back. It's fine. I had to separate myself from that. Same with social media. It's like, I'm not going to try to post and be funny and, given the circumstances. So with that, I am in a much better place now. To say that I'm fully healed would be an inaccurate statement. To say that things are better and perfect, inaccurate. To say that I'm not still hurting would be inaccurate as well. I think all of the same emotions and feelings apply. I've just healed a little bit more. It's just, I'm not as fragile as I once was. There was a time I couldn't even say mom or talk about anything related to her without just absolutely breaking down and bawling and not even being able to catch my breath. So it really is like a time thing. Doesn't make it easier, but it makes it more possible. Like, it makes each day a little bit more possible to do. Also, I am the biggest advocate for therapy across all areas of life, not just for, grief counseling, grief therapy, but therapy for all of the things. Therapy has been a tool that I am so grateful for. And again, I don't know if I would be in a place that I am in now had it not been for me finding my new therapist. Shout out Leslie. Um, I was in therapy twice a week for like 5 or 6 weeks after she passed because I just could not cope. I couldn't do anything. And it's like you can only talk to your friends so much. Like I can only sit in a room with my friends and cry about my deceased parent for so long before it starts to take a toll on them. And I'm not trying to, like, my friends are there for me and supportive, but they're not my therapist. They're not, like, they're people too that have to process emotions, or maybe they think about their own parents. It's like, I don't have to put that responsibility on them. So getting a therapist and finding someone is absolutely key. And also SSRIs, antidepressants, baby. If it's appropriate for you, it's appropriate for you. I know not all people appreciate it or vouch for it, whatever, but this girl right here, hell yeah. Crank me up on the SSRIs, baby. If it helps me not cry every day, then yeah, let's do it. So that in combination with therapy has been a very beautiful picture to paint, to say the least. I was genuinely in hell, rock bottom, like the lowest of lows, and then to slowly come out of it, to like clear the dirt and like rise to the surface and have help along the way, to have these tools. You can't navigate grief alone. You can't. I don't care what people tell you, or if you've met people or dealt with people, they're just like, I didn't do anything for my grief. That to me is terrible. Like, I don't know how anyone does that. I don't think you can. I don't think you can process grief by yourself. That's why support groups exist, and that's why therapy, it's been such a tool for me. And I know therapy is not for everybody, but it's been such a beautiful way to honor her and also honor my feelings and talk about it and process just my day-to-day thoughts and my fears, my concerns, my future. Like, everything just comes into conversation. And it's so helpful to talk that out with someone who's a professional. They know what they're talking about, and they can help you process all of that, because it's a lot. It is heavy. Grief is so heavy. And it's not something any human should have to like fight and go through alone. It's just not. And on another note too, I'm grateful for the resources that exist. I'm grateful that I have insurance that will help pay for therapy. I'm grateful that I had the opportunity to Google therapists near me and find someone like Leslie, my therapist. I'm grateful that I get insurance coverage for my antidepressants that I take that help me to function a little bit better in this life. So there's a lot to reflect on and be grateful for, because again, this is not something that you can just do alone. I mean, it's tough. I could cry just talking about how supportive and amazing my friends are and how incredible they were during this time. And again, that just like even is a beautiful reflection of how grateful I am for good friends and for really amazing people in my life that care about me and that would, drop everything to be with me. And, even aside from my mom, like being sick, like these are the same people that would have dropped their life and things to be there for me regardless. So it's a really comforting thing to know that I have those kinds of people in my life, because those people are kind of hard to find. Like, to find really good friends, really good supportive people that care about you and will, do whatever for you is such a rare thing. And for me, I know that living alone during that time was really difficult. I'm someone that loves to do things by myself and live alone, and I've enjoyed it, but there was a big shift too after my mom passed, just navigating living alone again and how lonely it actually felt for the first time ever, because I had never really thought being alone was lonely until experiencing kind of that sort of loss and all of that. Yeah, because even something as simple as like my mom would text me pretty much every day. We would talk all the time, FaceTime at least once, twice, 3 times a week. She would usually text me when I got to work, just being like, have a good day, even silly things like when the moon was full, we would like text a picture of the moon to each other, or she would be like, don't forget to wear a jacket today, it's gonna be really cold. Like little things like that's such a weird transition too. Like, the person is gone, but you forget about those little things that just existed with them that are also gone. Like, I don't know, it's like I never would have thought I would take for granted like a good morning text message, or wear a rain jacket today because it's pouring rain today. It just is, it's insane. And I'm grateful I've kept every bit of her that I possibly can. Hence why I made the little tribute video that I did, because she was the most important person to me in my life. She was everything. It's my mom, like, yeah, she was a really special lady. There's just genuinely one of a kind. And I'm so grateful that I, in this lifetime, got to be her daughter. What a special thing for me to have the opportunity to do. To be her daughter. How cool to have had a mom so supportive and loving and kind and compassionate and incredible. My God, I wouldn't trade that for the world. How grateful I am to have been born to someone like that, and to have inherited some of her traits, her love for simplicity and her happiness and her big smile and all of that. It's like, I'm so grateful for that. It sucks. It sucks I only got 28 years with her, but I'm grateful for each moment that I got, because that's all I know, And again, my purpose here on earth is to continue to make her proud, to live this life for me. She handcrafted this life for me. I don't want to waste it. I don't want to disappoint. I don't want it to just not be worth something. It's got to have some kind of meaning. It just has to. Even if I never figure it out, I can't just not live a life of excitement and happiness and travel and see things and make friends. Like, it's so important to see life through that lens of like, this life was given to me. It was created for me. I'm not about to live in this negative place for the rest of my life, because that's just not productive, and it would be doing a disservice to my mom, honestly. I don't even know what else to say. I do feel like I've been rambling a bit, but welcome to the podcast where I literally just ramble. Yeah, life after loss is strange. It's a very empty, weird world without my mom. I don't think I'll ever get used to it. I think the days will go by and things will get easier and it'll be okay. But it's empty. I'm not going to lie. That's the best way I can explain it. Especially the closeness that my mom and I had, the relationship that we had. We were just so close, and I told her everything and she told me everything. And, my mom was a bit on the older side, I guess, compared to my age. And it's like her having me a bit older kept her so youthful. Like, no one ever guessed her age, right? And I just feel like she got to live like a fun, youthful life because of me and my brother, just her having us when she was a bit older, and, getting to spoil my mom with things like when I would get, PR packages sent to me and I could share those with her, or, take her on trips or vacations and just spoil her because she deserved it. And just to try to give her a little bit of fun and light and happiness, because that's the childhood that she gave me. So to be able to pay her back in adulthood was really, really special. Damn, gets me every time. Obviously, I wish I could have continued to spoil her the rest of my life. But for the time that I did, I'm very grateful for it. And I don't regret anything with my mom. And I'm happy about that. I have no regrets or shame, or, there's nothing I could have said or should have said or wanted to say. I said everything I needed to say to my mom. And she knew exactly how I felt about her, and she knew what our relationship was like. And I'm grateful for that. And I think that's also a good reminder of like, the people that you care about the most, let them know. It's even if you're feeling lazy and you don't want to text somebody, like, let them know. It's so important because you just don't know. And also it's just good to remind people that they're loved and that you care about them and that they mean something to you. Because again, I didn't have to beg for forgiveness as my mom was transitioning out of this life. I didn't have to sit there and hold her hand and apologize for a million things or say a million things I had never said, because I always told my mom those things. I always told her that I loved her and that I cared about her and I was grateful for her. It's like I never missed an opportunity to do that. And I'm so glad I lived a life like that, because that would have been a bitch to hold her hand as she's dying and just say, I'm sorry. Or to say, like, I have so many things I want to tell you. I'm so glad that wasn't me, because I'm at such peace with that part of all of this that I don't have to worry about, oh, I should have said this, or I wish I could have forgiven, I could have asked for her forgiveness for this thing I did, at this time in my life. It's like, I don't have any of that. And I'm so glad. I'm grateful for that, honestly. I know that's not the case for everybody, and everyone's relationship with their parents and people in general are different, but that's something I can be proud of to say. And I would do it all over again if I had to. I was by my mom's side pretty much 24/7 for a month. Sleepless nights in the hospital, on the couch, watching her sleep, helping her in the middle of the night, helping make complex medical decisions, talking to her, calming her down, getting her up to the bathroom. I mean, whatever it was, you name it, and I was there. And my dad and my brother were there, of course, as well. But I obviously volunteered to jump in on those things because, one, it's my mom, and two, healthcare settings are like a second home to me, sadly. But I would do it all again. It's like a no-brainer. It would be devastating, but I wouldn't even question it. To have been there for my mom like that I'm so glad I did that. And I'm so glad I had the opportunity to do that. I'm grateful that I had a work environment that they were just like, go. There was no repercussion for being out of work, or, I had friends to check on Daphne. People were sending me gift cards for food. Like, I was taken care of. And it's like, I got to be there for my mom and do the things that were important to me and the things that made the most sense because of the people in my life too. And I'm just it's such a beautiful thing to be able to appreciate. So again, in all of this sadness and heartbreak and everything, there is still so many beautiful things to be found and to elaborate on. Because, yeah, it's a dark, terrible, awful, horrible, shitty, miserable time. It is, undoubtedly. But again, to just sit and find those moments and just to be grateful for those little things, I think that is what is important to me in this life. Because I would rather pick apart the worst scenario possible and just find little bits of color in the most awful shades of gray and black and just all of it. I would pick through the garbage, quite literally, to find a few pieces of gold, because otherwise I don't want to be living in a life where I'm just focused on the garbage or the grays and the blacks and the whites. Like, I can't do that. And I choose to not do that. Which is why I feel like I have the annoying, optimistic personality that I have. I'm just like, life's just too fragile, dude. Like, and I knew that before everything happened with my mom. I've said it once, I'll say it again, and I feel like this comes up a lot in podcast topics and just in general, like life sucks and it's hard. It's brutal, it's uncomfortable. There's so much unknown in life. Everyone is going through their own personal struggles and their battles, and obviously some harder than others. It's just there's life is so unpredictable and it's so many things, but life can also be so incredibly beautiful if you just take the time to sit down and like pick apart those beautiful moments. Again, even in the worst case scenario, the worst for me possible scenario of my mom, I still forced myself in therapy and after the fact, I still forced myself to sit down and find beautiful moments in all of that. In all of that literal horseshit and unfairness of my mom and all of that. Yeah, I still was sitting there and I'm like, okay, but this was a good moment. I'm grateful for this and I'm thankful for the time I had with her. And it sucks. I don't want to sit back and look at the good stuff. I want to be mad and be angry. But, through therapy, I've learned what a beautiful lens to look through. Life is a lot of shit and a lot of hard moments and uncomfortable moments. And it's like, but pick apart those good moments and focus on those, because that's just such a better way to live life. Because if you're not doing that, and I'm not saying you have to do that 24/7, and again, it's not rainbows and sunshine all the time, and you don't have to gaslight yourself if things suck. You don't have to be like, it's fine, because you can acknowledge when things aren't fine. But to try to live the majority of your life looking through a lens of like, wow, look at these nice moments and look at, what life has done for me or what I've done for others. I think that's such an important life lesson to learn. And I'm grateful that has been really put on the forefront of my mind, because it's just a good reminder of how I want to continue to live and how I choose to see the world and my outlook on life. I don't know. You can say I'm annoying and optimistic and whatever, but like, I would rather be that than just miserable and upset and sad all the time and just focusing on the things that suck. You don't have to point out the things that suck in life. We already know. Like, we know. So that's my advice to you, is just, even in your worst moments, and it doesn't have to be in the moment. If you think for 2 seconds I was in the hospice room holding my mom's hand, trying to find something good, you're damn wrong. That's absolutely not. It's more of like the reflection after the fact. And a lot of the time spent after, can you reflect on those moments? So if you're dealing with some shit in life, which I know you are, because everyone is, whatever it is you're going through, or you're dealing with, or you're having to work through, or whatever it is that's just got you down, or it sucks, or it's difficult, either depending on how you can process it, either as it's happening or when it's over or when you're getting close to the end of it, take a second to just be like, is there anything out of this situation I can either learn from, or I'm grateful that it happened, or something better came out of it? And that can apply to anything. You didn't get the job that you wanted, but you got a different job. Like, in those moments of things that suck, because the spectrum for things that suck can be like, oh, not that bad, to like really, really fucking bad. So whatever that spectrum is, or whatever the thing is that's not going great for you or whatever, again, take time to process it after the fact, or if you're feeling brave in the moment, and just reflect on it. And I'm sure that there's something that you can find that's beneficial, even in the worst moments. It's like, some of my mom's doctors that she had were just really great people, or like the hospice nurses that she had, just really supportive and caring. And it's like, I would have never had those like sweet moments or those supportive moments had it not been for my mom even being here. So it's like, things happen for a reason. And I hate that saying, but I also love it so much, because it's like, what the hell? What do you mean things happen for everything happens for a reason? Like, it's infuriating, but also kind of true. And it's like, things happen in life for a reason. Whatever the hell that reason is, sometimes we don't know, and sometimes we're not meant to know. And sometimes things are better left unsaid, and you don't have to be a detective and figure it out. But reflection is good. You don't have to have it all figured out, but you can definitely reflect if you feel that is appropriate for you. But I recommend, because it makes life a little bit smoother sailing, and you're not like stuck on it forever and ever and ever, because you've thought about it, you've processed it, you've worked through it, and you feel like you're in a much, much better place. So I don't even really know if the last 15 minutes of this made any sense. I feel like I'm rambling still. Thank you guys so much. You already know. I again, reflecting and like being positive, I am so grateful for this platform and all of you guys and the social media presence that I have and just being, friends with you guys, whatever, parasocial friendships people like to say. This is such a cool thing that I get to do. And I'm so grateful you guys stuck around and you waited for me and you are here to support me and you're here no matter what. It's a really great thing and I'm so grateful for that. And thank you for watching and for being here. And there are no words big enough to say thank you. There's not enough thank yous to say thank you. So I'm just forever grateful. And I appreciate you guys being here so I can keep doing these things that I love and sharing my life and just yapping into the universe and people out there listen. That's all I have for now. I got to look back on my old podcast episodes and figure out how I ended these because I don't even remember. I think, I used to do a random fun fact. I don't have one today. But anyways, take care of yourself, guys. Deep breaths. We're all going to get through it. We are. Whatever it is, we're going to get through it. We are. I mean, one way or another, Whatever it is you can do for yourself this week or today that's extra kind or nice, go for it. Buy yourself a coffee. Sleep in a little bit on your Saturday morning. Do something nice. Be kind to yourself. Be kind to your mind. Take some time for you. Journal, read, meditate, scream. Listen to your favorite music. Scroll on TikTok for an hour. Whatever it is you need, you should do it. All right, besties. We're in it together. I love you guys. Hopefully, next week's episode will be a little bit more cohesive and much less depressing. I don't even know anymore. I'm hoping this is okay. Thank you guys so much. Seriously, love you.